Hello and welcome to National Herald. I'm Rukmini Sen. Joining me today in this discussion is Sujata Anand. Sujata has been a journalist for over 3 decades. She has covered several stories on conflict and disaster. Sujata has written an interesting article recently in National Herald. She says that she's not surprised with Pegasus spyware. She's also not surprised that this government could be snooping on us. Welcome to the show, Sujata.
Thank you very much.
I must say it's rare in India to see political piece being so entertaining. Also, you have written it. It was very engaging, and I clearly could make out that you are one person who is not surprised with Pegasus spyware, right?
No, not at all. See, because when I was the political editor, at that point of time, I used to travel a lot to Gujarat, and I came across this in Gujarat over a period of about 3 or 4 years. And the BJP men used to be really very scared of their phones being tapped. But that was in a slightly old-fashioned manner. It used to be done with the local police. It used to be done, with the telecom laws in place and all that. It would be done like that. Pegasus is a completely different generation of spyware. This is completely different. But the fact that people were being spied on, and people like drivers and gardeners were being spied on, did not come as a surprise to me at all, because this is what was being done in Gujarat. And what's more, everybody in Gujarat knew it. They would not talk about it, particularly the local people would not talk about it. I was able to get away with it because I was just a visiting journalist. I would be in and out. The local journalists knew about it, and they were under pressure from their own organizations, not to upset what is happening in the center today with regard to the media. What we are talking about, how the media has surrendered and all, was happening in Gujarat exactly in the manner it is happening in Delhi today. And if you see some of my articles over the period of 2012, 2013, 2014, I have been warning the readers. I was warning the readers that this is what is likely to happen. And at that point of time, everybody used to laugh at me, poke fun at me. But then, now I'm in a position to say, I told you so. And lots of friends are calling and saying, see, Sujata, we disbelieved you so much at that point of time, but everything you said then is coming true. I said, yeah, because I was on the ground. I was reporting from the ground. People were talking to me. And one advantage of being a print journalist is that people part with a lot more information to you than they do on camera and on television.
Sujata, you have written a lot about meeting the BJP leaders in Gujarat.
Yes.
In very weird places.
Yeah.
They would not want to take your calls.
Yeah, very cloak and dagger, very cloak and dagger intrigue it was, see, it took me a little while to catch on. That, the thing is, see, usually what happens is, particularly in smaller towns and other states outside the metro cities and everything like that, people generally call you home. They say, "Aap zarur ghar aaye, hamare saath chai pijiye," or sometimes they even treat you to lunch and dinner. But this would never happen to me with the BJP men. Not just the leaders, but anybody in the BJP. They would definitely invite you to the office or the home. They would definitely offer you a cup of tea, but they would not tell you anything. And then if you wanted to talk, they would say, chaliye, chaliye, hum chalte hain. And then, I would find myself in weird places like, a market yard, a market committee yard, or else, a school playground. And once we were even standing in a sewage dump, in the sense there was this garbage all over the place. And we were standing there, and I was very, very shaky. But this man insisted that we stand there. My photographer was, of course, very thrilled because it gave him a kind of an ambience and all that. But I found it very funny. On the flip side, the congressmen, whenever I ask the Congress leaders, so they'll say, which hotel are you in? They would come over to the hotel, or, they would invite you to a restaurant or at home or office. And I gradually began to talk. Then somebody told me that, the thing is, see, it is, we understand why the BJP leaders are doing that, because they know their phones are being tapped. and they are not very sure whether, there are bugs in their home or in their office, which is why they don't talk to you in their home or office. And if you recall, Rukmini, in 2014, when this government first came to power, this good friend of mine, Nitin Gadkari, he found some bugs in his official residence. He did not really speak about it. He did not talk about it. But he's not a very favorite person of this regime, but he's very close to the RSS. So, these guys have been spying on their own people. They have been spying on their own people. And so I was not surprised. I was told this, then this was confirmed to me by other people, but still it was so incredible in those years, 2012, 2013. It was so incredible. I found it difficult to believe. Then there was that ATS sting, about, the stalking of a particular a young woman, and since it was the ATS officer who was on those tapes, I was compelled to believe that what I had been told was correct, and it might be really, really right that their phones are being tapped, which is why they were so hesitant to talk to me. Uh, and that is why when the Pegasus thing came, I was not surprised, and lots of other people, a lot of other, see, I'm in contact with a lot of intelligence officers too. They had been speaking about, India getting in with Israelis. So the fact that the Pegasus software came from Israel did not surprise me.
So, at any point of time, did any BJP leader confide in you that they were being tapped? Did anybody mention anything or give you a hint?
Not in so many words, not the BJP leaders. It was the businessmen and congressmen, who told me that this is how the phones are being tapped, and not in so many words. But the thing is, see, I would be sitting in my hotel room and writing this article, and I'm racing towards a deadline, and I suddenly need a clarification. And as we print journalists usually do, you need a clarification. You call the person and ask him for a clarification. So he would invariably not be available, and whoever picked up the phone, whether it was his wife, a servant, or whoever, would be extremely rude. साहब नहीं है, नहीं बात कर सकते, आप बाद में phone कीजिए, that kind of a thing. Now I was racing towards a deadline. I had to send my story in 10 minutes, so I could not afford to wait and call back. And then the person was so rude that I was really put off, and I wouldn't call. Then one of these persons, once I met one of these persons somewhere else afterwards, and I was hesitant to talk to him, but he realized that whoever had spoken to me perhaps had been very rude to me, and I might have been a little upset. So he came to me and he apologized and said, I'm very sorry, Ben. लेकिन ना क्या है, अगर आपको ऐसा ना चाहिए ना, बाद में अगर आपको कुछ इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए, तो आप ये नंबर पर फोन कीजिए. He gave me a number. I said, ये किसका नंबर है? It turned out to be his driver's number. But then he told me that, I should only make urgent calls, and I should keep my questions brief. Keep your questions brief. Don't and call only when it is very urgent. So that happened. It did not strike me why it was happening. Much later, when somebody tipped me off about what was happening, then I realized why this guy had given me his driver's number. So that is how they used to work. Drivers, domestic maids, their numbers, were the one that were given to others. But I think the Gujarat government also knew that this was happening, which is why they were tapping the phones of drivers also, of gardeners and maids and everybody else.
You mentioned in your article that Modi taps everybody's phones, and it must be very difficult to be a man like Narendra Modi with no friend he can trust, suspicious of all and everything, with honeyed words masking a malicious disposition and an ugly mind.
Yeah.
That's very strong words. Do you really think that Narendra Modi has no friends, or he believes that he has no friends?
I don't think he has any friend beyond Amit Shah, and I don't think even Amit Shah is really the kind of friend that you and I might have. I mean, he's someone on whom Modi is very dependent. He has been dependent on him for various things ever since his Gujarat days, and he cannot really afford to alienate the man. But there's no friend. Now, see, I would presume that someone like Anil Ambani would be a friend of his, because, I remember years ago, I mean, Anil Ambani, the Vibrant Gujarat event and all that, standing up and saying, wow, Narendra Bhai, I mean, such clearances, we get clearances so quickly. Now, from chief minister, he should move to the prime minister's office, etc. This was the man who first pushed for Narendra Modi as prime minister. And Modi doesn't trust this man, I mean, he gives him the Rafale deal. He endangers his government, I mean, by, giving a bankrupt man who has no knowledge about the aviation industry this huge project. And then he taps this man's phone. He taps the CBI's phones, he taps the phones of the people, the police officers who are close to him. He taps the phones of the army. He taps the phones of the BSF. It must be so difficult, isn't it, to be a man like this who cannot trust anybody. You need someone in life, now, at least one person you need who you can completely trust, you can let your hair down with, I mean, you can talk about your, what do you say, doubts, you can talk about your worries, and, I mean, you can share everything, with a confidence that it will not go beyond you and that person, but I don't think this man has anybody like that. He doesn't trust a bureaucrat. He doesn't trust a police officer. He doesn't trust another politician. He doesn't trust anybody. Very, very difficult. And that is why, I mean, he doesn't have a very attractive mind, does he? If he had an attractive mind, he would not be like this, no? Constantly, I mean, looking over his shoulder at who's conspiring against him, who's doing what against him.
That's very important point that you've made. You've also, I'll read out from a paragraph that you've read. You've written, Modi imperiled his government by arm twisting the French government to accord the Rafale deal to the completely inept Ambani. And yet his government is not beyond putting the man on target for spying apart from other Dassault officials, the Saudi Arabian ambassador, whose government has given Modi an award. And moreover, what I find tickling pink is that the government spies on both the Chinese ambassador and the Dalai Lama at the same time.
Dalai Lama, come on now, the Dalai Lama. What kind of a threat is the Dalai Lama? I mean, he's a man of peace. I mean, he's not a terrorist. This software was meant for terrorists, I mean, that the company, the NSO company itself has said that, people sleep, better at nights knowing that, we have this software which is watching terrorists. Of course, I mean, it has been turned in India, it has been turned against us, against the citizens of the country. But the Dalai Lama is a man of peace. But then you're spying on the Dalai Lama. You're spying on the Chinese ambassador. You're supposed to be a friend of the Chinese government. I mean, you have been unable, I mean, to be assertive about China occupying a territory in Ladakh and Arunachal Pradesh. I mean, yet you spy on the Chinese ambassador. You go to Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Arabians give you an award, I mean, and you're spying on them also. I mean, I have never heard a situation where foreign dignitaries and foreign governments get spied upon by any government. Forget about India. I don't think any government, unless that government is convinced that a particular person in a particular embassy, the US embassy or the Russian embassy or the British embassy, is an agent, is a spy. I mean, it has happened in the past. I mean, we know all those stories. I mean, a native government's intelligence agency also knows who that mole in that particular embassy or high commission is, and they keep a watch on that person. But not like this. I mean, no government is stupid enough to send a CIA agent as an American ambassador, or the Chinese government will not be stupid enough to send an intelligence officer as its ambassador. No, I mean, so to spy on the ambassadors, I mean, this is going too far. This is taking the cake, really.
But then, Sujata, in the time that we live in, where everything is justified, and all actions of Modi are justified. Some people might say that he's just being alert about his enemies and maybe friends also. How would you react to that?
If he's being alert about his enemies, how did he allow China to occupy Ladakh? If he was spying on the Chinese ambassador, I'm 100% certain the Chinese government was in touch with the Chinese ambassador. Then how did the Chinese go and occupy our territory? How did you not take any preemptive action if you were being alert on the part of India? What was the reason to spy on the Saudi Arabian ambassador? I have not been able to work out as yet. I mean, because I don't think Saudi Arabia in recent years has been a threat to India in any way. I mean, no way it has been a threat. Spying on friends, well, that is very pitiable. I mean, you don't have a friend, you want to spy on friend. That is very pitiable. I mean, it makes you a kind of a lesser human being, I think. I mean, and spying on your own police officers, your own army. I mean, they are our security agencies, they are our security officials. I mean, there has to be a certain level of trust somewhere. I mean, these people are not betraying the nation, they are not betraying the country. There might be some little political intrigues here and there. I mean, there might be, I mean, somebody might be supporting, one group, somebody might be supporting another group, but that is no reason to spy on them, no?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sujata, for your time. And I do hope to talk to you about your books sometime soon.
Yeah, I would love that.
Thank you for making time for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Rukmini.
Thank you for watching National Herald. I'm Rukmini Sen. If you like the video, please share, subscribe, and like. Thank you.